Welcome boys and girls from YouTube, my name is Sloth, this is the Sloth Forge, and thanks a lot for stopping by. In today's video, I want to talk about the familiars a bit more in depth. In the first minute or so, I just give you a general overview about the familiars, and then I want to talk about the best way to actually fuse your familiars, because there are a lot of different ways, a lot of different approaches, and the very cool thing about those familiars is that we have the exact ratios. So for example, if I combine a mythical pet with a legendary pet, those are the exact numbers. So what does it mean for us? We can calculate the best way to obtain a lot of mythical pets, and this is the main goal of today's video. Just the best way from a mathematical perspective. Then I also currently preparing a second video, a second part for this video, where I want to talk about the number of talents, because when it comes to talents, we sadly don't have the exact ratio. We just know that if I combine those two, I have a chance of getting 2 or 3 talents. However, then if I use another pet, a pet without any talents as a second pet, we still have the chance of 2 to 3 talents. So it is not entirely sure, or I am not entirely sure yet, what is the best way when it comes to talents. But as I said, this is part for the second video. Today I just want to talk about the rarity chances, because this is also very important in my opinion, because I think the probably best way to get a very strong talent is to first get a lot of mythical pets or mythical familiars, and then fuse those mythical familiars. Because if in theory you have a legendary pet with some extremely strong talents, this is on the one hand obviously very cool, because those talents are very important and probably the most impactful thing when it comes to those familiars. However, if you have a legendary pet or a legendary familiar with good talents, you in the long run definitely want to make this pet mythic. And this is where it gets very tough for you, probably, because when you then fuse your very strong legendary pet over and over again, it is very likely that you will lose 1 or 2 talents when it evolves, or that some of those good talents will change. So I think the best approach is to first get mythical pets and then try to get your strong talents on those mythical pets. But well, that's enough. Now let's get into the real topic of today's video. And first, but as I said, first just a real quick system overview within 30 seconds. We have 3 different rarities: epic, legendary, and mythic. And if we combine 2 pets, we get 1 new pet, while the second pet is always consumed, and we keep the species of the first pet. Then the result rarity depends on 2 facts. First, of course, which rarities you combine. So if you combine 2 legendaries, you have better chances of getting a mythical than if you combine 2 epics. This is obvious. However, the order in which you not confuse, but in which you fuse those familiars is also very important, and this is very interesting in my opinion. So if I fuse an epic with a legendary, I have a 10% chance of obtaining a mythical pet. However, if I fuse a legendary with an epic, then I have a 5% chance of obtaining a mythical pet. So this is very interesting. And just as a general first rule of thumb or key idea, whenever you are combining pets or familiars of different rarities, the second slot is always the slot where you want the pet with a higher rarity, okay? But now that we talked about the system overview, let's talk about the next part, what the math actually tells us, or what the numbers tell us. So first I wrote down all the different combinations, or at least the combinations that are somehow interesting. Also just the different combinations in form of epic legendary and legendary epic. And then I marked the most important combinations for us. So, and yeah, you probably already guessed it. The most important are epic plus epic and legendary plus legendary. So the important conclusion out of those numbers here: any combo that ever uses a mythical as a parent will actually reduce your expected total outcome. So you never ever want to use a mythical pet when you are at the step where I am right now, where you just want to acquire as many mythical pets as somehow possible. However, especially now, this changes, of course, when you are at the point where you have a very good legendary pet. Then you definitely have to fuse this pet with mythical pets if you want to make it a mythical one, even though I'm actually not entirely sure if you should not even then also only fuse it with legendary pets. However, just in general, this is the general approach, and those are just the numbers that I calculated. So third, the optimal strategy to maximize your mythic count. And this is where what I just marked here already a little bit. The first step, I already talked about this as well. Freeze all mythics. You don't want to use your mythics ever again, at least now for this step. Later on, of course, you want to fuse your mythics, but then you only want to fuse your mythics with other mythics so they stay mythical. Then we use epics to farm legendaries. And epics are definitely by far our most important source for legendaries and mythical pets. We get quite a lot of those epic eggs and epic pets. And every single time that we combine two of them, we have a 33% chance to actually get a legendary pet. So yeah, as I said, they are kind of the fuel for our mythic heroes. Then, if we have two legendary heroes from our epic heroes, we can combine them into mythic heroes. Where, yeah, we have like a 33% chance, I think it was. It's actually a 50% chance. I'm so sorry, guys. Sometimes I'm just blind. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you have a 50% chance to then actually, if you combine two of those legendary pets, to get a mythical pet. This is the whole magic. This is the whole idea. And I think most of you already did it like this. I just wanted to make this video for the numbers, just to give every one of you proof that this is definitely, without a doubt, the best way. You want to fuse epic with epic and legendary with legendary. I collected the most important information, and I really hope that this is helpful for you. Apart from that, one more thing I just think is kind of interesting is you need on average 21 epics to obtain one mythical pet. Well, and that's it for today. I really hope that it was somehow helpful for you, and please stay tuned for the second part of this video, because as I said, now this was the first part, just talking about what is the most efficient way to get a lot of mythical pets, and the second part, I want to talk about the most efficient way to combine your pets when looking at those talents. Because here, yeah, this is very, very interesting. It is definitely even more important than the rarity of your pet. You want a pet with very strong talents. And we don't have the exact numbers. So, as I said, I need more data. I'm currently collecting a lot of data. We also don't know what the exact outcome actually is going to look like. How high are the possibilities that the fused pet has a talent if both parents have the talent, versus if only one parent has the talent? Most likely, it will also have an impact on the outcome if the father or the pet on the left or the pet on the right actually has those talents. We don't know it yet, but I could definitely imagine this, because yeah, it also makes a difference on the rarity chance on what pet is left, what pet is right. So this most likely will also influence the number of talents. However, that's it for today. I'm very sorry that if some of those things were a little bit confusing. I really hope that it was helpful for you, and if you have any further questions, some input or some criticism, please let me know in the comments below. And that's it for today. See you in the next one.